Now, let's just say that the work that you want to do isn't straightforward. Let's say that you want to make some edits or some changes to the existing material. Say that I found another article from 2009 and I wanted to insert it here. How would I go about doing that? Okay, so let's cover that first. So I click Edit, and of course I'm going to add a block. So I want to add my image, I want to add my line, I want to add my text. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my line and drag it up. So for this example, we're saying it's going to be an article for 2009. So now we have two lines next to each other. So in between these two lines is where the 2009 article is going to go. So we're going to come down here, grab the image, I click and I drag it up. Now I want to drop my image so that it's right between the lines. You can see I have a line going all the way across, showing me where that image is going to go. That's where I want it. So I let go. Then I'm going to drag my text up. So I grab my text and I scroll up. Then I want it just to be next to the image. It is, so I let it go. I adjust the size of my image. And then I start adding in, 2009 article. So now let's just say I realize, oh no, there was no 2009 article. I don't actually want this block here at all. So how do I go about deleting things, right? So I don't want the image here anymore. So it's really simple on SquareSpace. I can just hover over it and remove that block. Do I want to remove it? Yes, I do. Same thing with the text. I can hover over it, which it can be touchy sometimes. So I hover over it and then I just get rid of it. Another option is you can drag your object and put it in the trash can at the bottom. So like with my line, I just drag it, put it in the trash can, and now that line is gone. That's great if you get tired of confirming that you want to get rid of a certain block, but I prefer to do it where you do have to confirm, just so that I have a second to reflect on whether I do actually want to get rid of that, or if at the last minute I decide to keep it, then I can just cancel that. But it's up to you, whatever your preference is. There are two ways of deleting, super user friendly. So another tidbit that I wanted to mention is, let's just say that you wanted to have a link in here, like you can see Michael Sterick here. Say you wanted to link his name with his lab's website. If you wanted to do that, you could just click here. This is the hyperlink tab. You click that, and then you just enter in the URL, and you could click apply, and now you can see this is a hyperlink, right? So we can save that, and I could show you. If you click on it now, it'll take you to his lab page. Okay, so that's just an example of another way that you could do links, because we went over the button, right? So we went over the button and we went over creating a link with an image, but we didn't go over just a basic text link. Okay, so that's how you would do that. Another little tidbit is, say that you realize that you wanted to add in another web page. You just hit the plus right here and then you can choose what type. I usually just do blank. I mean, if you had something specific in mind, you could click one of these, but I'm just going to do blank. So I'll just leave it called new page, but you could, of course, rename it. So another thing you may be wondering to yourself, since we're working with the not linked pages, are, and if you read the description, it says these pages are public unless they're disabled or password protected, but they don't appear in the navigation. So the navigation is this stuff up top. Search engines can discover them, and you can click to learn more. But basically, on your main page, you're not going to see these. So I wanted to go over briefly how you go about connecting to these pages. Okay, so we just added in new page, right? So if I click on it, you can see that this is completely empty, but really what I want to do is click on the settings. Okay, so the thing that's pretty important is the URL slug, right? So this is the unique location slug for this page. So whatever your URL is for the page, so this is CBI's page, right? So conradblucherinstitute.org. If I copy this part over here, right, this is going to bring me to the new page, which as we know is completely blank. But for another page, right, which we don't have linked up here anywhere else, such as Coastal Dynamics Lab, we could do the same thing. We can look and we can see, okay, this would be / Coastal Dynamics Lab. So now if I type that in instead of new page, you'll notice that this does actually take me to the Coastal Dynamics Lab. And as it mentioned in the description, somebody can Google Coastal Dynamics Lab and this would pop up in the Google search as well. So as you know, knowing this URL slug is really handy because we have our research labs, right? And so if I want to connect this to the Coastal Dynamics Lab, right now it just goes back to the old website, but we're trying to update everything so that it goes to the new website. So once this new website is all up and operational, all I do is I take this URL here, right? And I would update this button right here the way we've updated other buttons in the past, right? And then this would point to this website instead of this website. So now you can see I'm on the Coastal Dynamics Lab page. And so let's just say instead of having this picture of a hurricane here, we actually wanted a slideshow of Dr. Tussauds students working in the field. Okay, so we're going to edit it just like we edited other pages before, and we're going to add a block. All right, so I'm going to navigate to the Coastal Dynamics Lab page. So you can see we're on the Coastal Dynamics Lab page. Now let's just say that instead of having this hurricane here, we wanted to have a gallery of Dr. Tussauds students' images working in the field. So we would edit just like we always do, and we would add a block. Now down here you can see there are a bunch of galleries. So there are all different image layouts that you can do. We didn't really get into those, but you can play around with them on your own time. But for galleries, this assumes that you're going to have a lot of images. I personally like the slideshow, but there's carousel and grid and stack. So if I do slideshow, that's what that looks like. If I wanted to do a carousel, that would just mean that I have an image and then I can see part of the next image. If I wanted to do a grid, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's a grid. If I wanted to do a stack, that's just going to show them vertically. All right, but really all I want is the first one that I clicked on, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of these other ones. Okay. And I'm going to edit this block here, right? So that was my slideshow. You can see this is the slideshow. So I'm going to upload images. Now let's just pretend for a second that these are Dr. Tussauds students working out in the field. Okay, so I upload those. Give it a second to upload. So let's just say that I want to say something about what's in the image. I would click on my settings wheel and I would give it a title. So this is actually what I used for the CDL1 article, the little snipped image. So CDL1, and this is something about CDL1. Okay. Now if I wanted to link it to the article, I could do that right here by clicking to add the URL, but I don't want to do that at this time, so I'm going to click Save. Then I'm going to show you a little bit of the design tab here. So the design tab, if you decided that you didn't actually want the slideshow, you can go and you can change it to the different types of galleries right here. But I do want the slideshow. So some of the settings that you can mess with for the slideshow are you can automatically transition between slides. That does exactly what it says. So left to its own devices, every couple of seconds, it will automatically change photos. I'm personally not a fan of that, so I'm not going to check that. Show the previous and next controls. I am a fan of that. I like having these arrows. I think they're very handy and user-friendly. Automatically crop images. I personally don't care for that, but if you're a person who likes to have all of your images the same size, you may want to have that checked, but I don't want to lose any part of my image. I don't so much care about if all the images look exactly the same. And then you can choose to show thumbnails, or you can choose not to. So if I uncheck it, you can see that the thumbnails go away. But I personally really like having the thumbnails because as a user, it's nice to know what's coming. And also, if you see a really cool image on the bottom, you can just skip over the ones in between and click to that really cool image. Then of course you have the thumbnail strip height. I personally like the defaults, but if you want, you can mess with it, make it smaller or bigger. I'm just going to put it back up to 80. You can also select the distance between the main image and the thumbnail strip, so you can make that smaller or you can make that bigger. It's up to you. You can show the title and description, so that was this guy here, or you can not. Okay? I like to show the title and description if I have one. You can move around where the title and description are. If you want it at the top, you can have it at the top. If you want it at the bottom, which is what I usually prefer to do, you can have it at the bottom. You can have it shown on hover. So that just means that you have to be hovering over it to see it. I personally don't like that, so I'm going to deselect it. I want it to always be there. You can, if I say I did link this to that first article, I could open the link in a new window. The default is to just do it in the same window. So if you did want a new window to be opened, you would need to check the box. And that goes for all the other links that we were doing before. So any images that you link, any buttons that you link, any hyperlinks that you have in text, the default is to have it in the same window. So if you want it to open in a new window, you need to go and find the setting to have it open in a new window. And then last but not least, the transparent background. So just like what it says here, you can remove the color behind uncropped or transparent images. So if you want to do that, you could do that. So I'm going to click apply, and then you can see I've got my slideshow here. Maybe I want to move my slideshow so that it's up here above the text, so that the first thing that I see when I come to the page is I see this carousel of slideshow images, and then maybe I don't really want to have this hurricane here anymore, right? So I can get rid of that hurricane. So now when I come to the landing page, I see pictures of Dr. Tussauds students in the field, because we're pretending that's what these article images are. And then I get to have a little bit of information about what the lab is and what their mission is. So that's just how you would add in a slideshow. So remember how many moons ago we created this new page and we didn't decide to call it anything else? Well, we don't really need this new page, so I'm going to delete it and confirm. Now let's just say I immediately regretted that decision. I can restore it by clicking the delete pages and then restore it. So now I've restored it, and you can see there it is, it's back, but of course I don't actually want it, so I am going to get rid of it. So that's pretty much all I've got. I feel like that covers a lot of the Squarespace basics. If there are any specific videos that you want me to make, let me know. Otherwise, have fun.